All right, y'all. Welcome back to the Leading Out podcast. This is your host, Cybershine 3.
This is spoiler alert, Laney, whatever you want to call me.
Today we're joined by our second guest. You know her, you love her. It's CheesyBee from League. Hello.
Hello.
We are so happy to have you on. Constant
Thank
fun
you.
person.
Thank you.
And I think we're gonna have a really fun episode here. We got some fun topics. We got some relevant current topics, which I know for us it's hard because we want to talk about is books from 20 years ago.
Yeah,
But I think it'll be fun.
we could do this.
At the same time, I want to talk about, we're all three users that in one way or another have kind of like glomped onto a character, made that kind of our brand. I thought it'd be fun to maybe do like a round robin and kind of talk about like why do we do that, what it sort of means to us, and then we can get into the rest of the episode. Cheesy, since you're our guest, would you like to go first?
Um, sure, yeah. So my kind of, I don't know, special character, I'll say, is Escapade. And the main reason she really just clicked for me was because she was the first trans character Marvel already found out about. Well, painstakingly go through Krakoa. And it meant a lot to me. Just finding
Yeah,
out about you go.
yeah. I was just say that. I remember when I was doing my big Krakoa read through a couple years back, and I got to Escapade, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's awesome. I didn't know. I was trans at that point, and I was just like, cool. I'm going to store her in the back of my mind for later. And here we are.
Yeah.
This is how you can kind of tell the fan I am. Like, yeah, I thought it was cool she was trans, but more I was like, oh my god, this power set is crazy. The applications of this
We
power set.
we did have a lot of combos. You did try to power scale her to me too much.
It's just an interesting concept.
hmm Also, the idea of someone who wants to be a supervillain was a fun character idea. And I think
Yeah.
that's a very relatable idea.
Definitely.
Spoiler, would you like to go next?
Sure. If you couldn't guess by that introduction, the character I've kind of attached myself to is Stephanie Brown, spoiler, Batgirl Robin. Yeah, those are her three big ones. And I'll be honest, I don't really understand how it happened. It just kind of did. Honestly, Cybershine might be able to explain this better than I can because they watched it happen in real time. But I first encountered her on Batgirl and then and enjoyed her enough. And then I was like, okay, she's pretty cool. But I always kept her as like, hey, she's one of the Batgirls, or she's that one Robin who was a girl. And then I read Batgirl, her 2009 series, a couple months later, and went, oh, this is why everyone likes the character.
Well, you know what it is, right? Is that for a long time you were glomped on Cypher because
That is true,
you're a
yes.
Cypher account, and then you realize what you were, and that's I can tie it almost directly. The set date.
hmm No, because I changed my account before I figured it out about myself.
There you go. But
But
still,
yeah,
like
well,
it's perpendicular.
it's really because I started in my DC reading with Young Justice and Tim and Nightwing,
Mhm.
and it covered stuff a couple times in the background, and then went on my way and then started going down that rabbit hole.
You love your blonde that doesn't get enough page time.
Which one are you talking about?
Exactly. That's my point. Um, and last but certainly not least, so for a while now, I've been going for the Moon Knight branding. I have a lovely little profile picture from, I believe, Colin Bunn's one. But recently, I feel it's a lot more now. I've been trying to be the Strife head of League because Strife is stupid, but
I'd like to
means
end it there.
yeah,
Strife is
I can
stupid.
make her. But he means the world to me because I think there's something so like Shakespearean tragedy about him as a character. There's something like the fact that he wants to be loved, he wants a family, but he knows he's the bastard clone son. He knows that it was his fate to grow up and then be used as a meat sack for Apocalypse. He's not his own person. His life has been claimed by somebody else. And yet, he still finds time in his day to hate Cable with burning touch.
And what's more relatable than basically hitting yourself?
I think it's like everything I like about like Thawne or really top tier. Like, like it's steady. like everything I like about a top tier hater character mixed with all the stupid nonsense that I love about X-Men. And like also he's really pointy. And like that's pretty funny. I like
You do.
funny guys. That was fun. Let's move now. So this will be our pick of the week section, where we talk about what we're pulling. It'll be the week of November 12th. Talk about what we're looking forward to. Spoiler to start us off.
This week it's a pretty slim picking week for me. I'm really just picking up the newest issue of Power Fantasy and Supergirl. I've been loving Supergirl, although frankly, whenever Power Fantasy is in competition, that's what I have to give it to. Kieran Gillen has been telling such an interesting story and integrating these characters in a way that makes you feel like, oh, these are real people who are actual incredible threats to the world. However, I do want to see how messy this can get. And some point, I know that messiness will kill everybody on the planet, I bet. However, I like watching the messy, almost polycule like drama of it all.
I was gonna say like
It's the Seattle polycule, that fake one.
it's the Portland Polycule mixed with Watchmen, and I think that's the one thing that could have made Watchmen better is by putting in the Portland Polycule from Hell. So I agree. I think this is like dramatic improvement.
Hmm.
You have pretty ambivalent feelings on Watchmen. How do you feel that like a book that you're looking forward to every month is like directly tied into that?
Kieran Gillen's brother Alan Moore. That's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Uh, Nine picks. I don't think news starting. It's all follow-ups. Um, but as you'll recall from an earlier episode, I mentioned I was really looking forward to Sinister's Six #1. I've now read Sinister Six #1. Really liked it. It's not reinventing the wheel or anything like that, but just a fun time all around. So honestly, my pick of the week for the 12, it's got to be Sinister Six #2. I want to know who. I don't feel bad spoiling it. I want to know who Alex's kid, who's the mom. I want to know what Sinister plans to do when he breaks down Spires. Yeah, it's just a lot of threads going through this. For a title that isn't like anywhere near the main cast, I feel like there's a lot that could say a lot about the event going on in this title. And then what about you, Cheesy?
Um, so the 12 has like 45 books I'm excited for.
Fair
So
enough.
it's a really hard choice because like we got the Phantom X double feature is back, but I gotta give it to Batman Dark Patterns #12.
Ooh, strong.
That was, I think, the second DC book I ever started pulling. It's honestly probably the best
Good
Batman
one
book
there.
in like a good decade. I say it's probably the best thing since Snyder's original run for the 52. And just the fact it's already ending is kind of hard to understand.
I think we talked about it on the episode where we were talking about the new announcements. I'm of the camp that I think the new Shadow of the Past will be some sort of continuation of Dark Patterns. I think the series is way too popular, and that they just want to cancel it for a
Hmm.
an issue #1. I think it's been. I can't even.
No, the series was it was a maxi. It was 4 individually existing stories with a kind of overarching line.
No, I mean the price tag. How much does it
Oh, the
cost?
price tag, yeah, that yeah.
$4.99 in
Um,
monthly.
I do
Well,
think Shadow of the
honestly,
Bat will. Oh, sorry, you go.
no, go ahead.
I think Shadow of the Bat will kind of pick up what Dark Patterns established with like this new sort of line of Batman storytelling that we haven't seen since the original, chronology that Batman had for like what 100 some issues. I think it's going to try and set like a new standard similar to what Dark Patterns did with like you know either a different character or taking advantage of the bigger Batman mythos there still is now.
I'd really appreciate that. I feel like, especially recently, a lot of writers have been like, screw the year one, year two, like year three ordering. Let's just do whatever we want. And while I'm not usually in favor of creative restriction, I do think there's a genius simplicity to the year structure.
ignoring year 2 Dark Side. Well, we've talked about this, to where you have year 1 is a beautiful story that does a really good job of telling Bruce picking himself up to organized crime, and then all falls apart from there. With 0 year being a year 2 story, plus New 52, the infamous year 2 Dark Side, and year 3 being when Dick comes into the story, at least before all the year 2. So who knows how this all goes now. He might have had a very busy year, just taking down the mob and doing the long Halloween, and during all that, he's also adopting a sidekick and killing Darkseid. If we use Dark Patterns as the launch point to clear him up, Dark Patterns paired with what Mark Waid's doing in New History of the DCU to clean up Batman continuity, very much in favor, because I think that's why I'm so tired of Bruce, and why I like the other characters better, is that it's a lot less messy. Like Stephanie's a really good example. I think compared to Bruce, okay, she became spoiler because her dad was Master, and then with that, she became Robin for like a month for having her death faked and going to Africa with Leslie Tompkins, and then coming back as spoiler before Bruce dies and Cat hands off the mantle of Batgirl. But this is what I'm talking about, right? Is that like all of that is after Batman has established himself. Yes. We don't have to get into how early did she come into the picture, which he. That's how you get into the do of it all. Yeah, but better left in the dust. I think with that, let's pivot to our next segment. So Cheesy, you wanted to talk about the recent X-Force announcement. You had some thoughts and feelings about that. Why don't you lead us on that, and then we'll figure out where this goes.
So, I was quite shocked when I saw a new X-Force book be announced at Comic-Con, because I was fully expecting to get another X-Force Drow like what we had after Cy Spurrier's run.
Mm-hmm.
So it took me off guard when I saw we were getting a new X-Force book, and I saw the rosters like Archangel, because of course, whatever happened in X Factor, Archangel's like that whole mess. And then I saw it was like a time displaced somewhat X-Force team, and like that could work, because X-Force has always existed at like kind of bigger points in X-Men. I feel like. You had to be a big thing right after Claremont left. You had to be a big thing during Utopia, the Messiah trilogy, a big thing
For sure.
kind of middle Regenesis, middle of Krakoa, all that. Which lays the groundwork for what could be a really fun team. And then I saw those 4 members, and that kind of mucks things up, because, like, I think there's some kind of rules for an X-Force team. And one is roster size that allows for natural chemistry. And I don't think that really works with what you've seen of Cable, Boom Boom, Archangel, and Woman was a pretty cool pick with Akihiro as Helverine. The only genuine chemistry there really is on that is Cable and Boom Boom as former teammates.
For sure. They've had that like father-daughter role for a while now, so at least there's something.
And like this is, I try to be unbiased with Phantom X because I realize how much I'm obsessed with him. He would genuinely be a good pick for X-Force. He'd use like
and the fact that he's not
more modern Phantom X. It's
the same thing Boom Boom was doing. They can bring one up, they can bring 2. Oh, that's right. That stupid team that King Bedlam has. Whatever happened to that? So is that just
the Hellions? They were mentioned. They were mentioned in the last issue of X-Men.
That's good.
They still exist. Like, I'm pretty sure the team has a debt towards King Bedlam.
Yeah.
So I fully expect to see the team return probably around the beginning of spring. Because, we gotta give X-Men time to kind of get back on track at our Age of Revelation and all. And that kind of reflects the plot more. So I would say fair bet that the Hellions reappear during spring. And Hellions are just X-Force, I would say. Actually, they already are. Just, they're essentially a cameo team. Not dissing it, because it's obviously a really fun lineup, but they're a cameo team.
For sure. I think what's curious is that we had the recent X-Force that just ended at 10. And to say that was received like to mixed signals would be an understatement. I had some people calling it the best book they've ever read. I've had some people calling it the worst book they've ever read. I've heard everything in between. I've heard some people saying I like Betsy and Rachel being gay. Well, certainly that's you. So it's just interesting to me that we're so quickly kind of like getting back in the box, I guess, when it comes to X-Force. Like Cable's back, Boom Boom's back, the
I
Archangel's here
think
from the Uncanny Evil lineup.
so. I enjoyed X Force Volume 7 also. Fun fact I believe X Force is tied with Unadjective lists for the most like volumes in next book.
That wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, like if you count the Uncanny X Forces, it actually I think wins, but I digress. So I think part of why they're doing Inglorious X Force is they realized that X Force. Well, it was a good book in my opinion. I honestly really enjoyed it. It wasn't like what X Force is anymore. After like the road trip era, or like in the end of Volume 2, which is Liefeld's returning mini, X Force has always kind of been this, all shadow, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil, covert, clandestine kill group, Yeah. And now you're seeing what is essentially like a paranormal investigation group without the paranormal. It wasn't what people wanted from X Force. I think that's why it was canceled and why they were still clicking doing Glorious X Force.
That makes sense. I feel like another one of X Force's issues right now is just the saturation. Where X Force is always kind of like the second tier title, because whatever X Men book there is, and then X Force, having 3 top tier X Men titles strips away a lot. That's very true. I think
And they're like
your C tier at best.
Like since the 90s, there have been, I think, less than 10 years where there was an X Force book. Like in a 30-year period, there's been like at least I think 22 years. Like a lot of it was really like continuous. Like from X Force Volume 3, which is the Messiah era with all the garbage with Rain and the really good Crane art and the only Yost book I really dislike. Through Uncanny and Uncanny Volume 2 and Cable and X Force. To X Force Volume oh my god, Volume 4, the Spurrier one, which honestly was just awful. That kind of ended the era, but because it sucked and because it probably just was coming to a natural conclusion, but it threw X Force for a loop. That was, I believe, a 3-year period without X Force.
Yep, I've got stuff pulled up, and that's correcting me. That basically, before that, the only time there hadn't been an X Force book was, and yeah, it was basically unheard of to not have an X Force.
Yeah, it's kind of
mid 2000s, but we don't talk about X Men in the mid 2000s. Well, and it's interesting because there's that gap at the end of the Spurrier run, but then that gets to the Brisson run, which honestly reads more like a maxi series than it does like a
I believe it is maxi, is it?
Yeah, it's only 10 issues.
It's only 10 issues? Oh.
Some of them had just been, that whole era of X-Men is weird because they knew Krakoa was coming. It literally wraps up, I think, a month before Krakoa.
Yeah, yeah, like every aspect ended like right before Krakoa happened.
I remember all the writers were told, hey, there's a new status quo coming. Do whatever the hell you want. Kill people off, make a mess. Hickman's gonna come and put it all up. You can do whatever. You do get really good Pepe Larraz covers with that series.
Yeah, that book was like you can already see the quality was non-existent with all those books right before Krakoa because they all knew nothing's going to matter. Everyone we kill off is going to be back in 5 months. Anything we do is going to be ignored for Krakoa. So they really took the time to, not always in a good way, kind of do whatever they wanted. And I think X-Force Volumes 5 was a good example because it continued plot lines with characters that we knew were going to see on Krakoa. We're still having fun with its own thing. We had the original team hunting down young Cable, who killed old Cable, and then we had Deathlock Prime in there, and like, okay, sure, have fun.
Rachel gets to pop in there. She has a fun bonding moment with Kid Cable. That was nice. Really, this is just my background pitch. That more people are like, it's in the most amazing run on the planet, but it's pretty fun, and the art's very unique in that one. It's a very
Yeah, every Ed Brisson comic I've read is just fun.
yeah.
Not
I
always
think that's the
like
best
the
way to
greatest, but
his little mini at the beginning of New Mutants, like I think the 3 or 4 issues that he did,
that was
crazy.
it was it was a very odd time.
That whole beginning of New Mutants doesn't really get talked about because everyone rightfully so. Yeah, that cuts in the beginning and all that stuff, where they talk about how Hickman needs to follow up all the Shi'ar stuff that he established. Hickman just loves to write something. He does.
Yeah.
But no one ever opens. But it's about to happen. Super Guardians, let's go. We've been waiting. We Guardian fans, not those Guardians, have been waiting. Both the two of us have been waiting for this exact moment. You can always tell when Hickman's writing the story because he'll bring the Shi'ar in somehow to do some fun Guardian stuff. It happened with New Mutants, it happened with X-Men, it happened with Imperial. I'm a little disappointed that we're letting Percy back into the fold to write stories, but we're not letting him back on X-Force. I would have loved to see. I think I just really like that run, and I would have liked to see it just go on forever. You do, and I think that it's a good thing to bring back on. In general, when it comes to books, I like to have the opinion of let's give the creator a shot. That's fair. They've had their shot. Let's give it to someone else. It's why I talk about Mark Waid being back on the Flash, even though I am interested in it at this point. It's why I talk about. I also not just talk about Mark Waid, but he's writing Justice League Unlimited as well, which he did in famous Justice League run. And action. Oh, yeah, he's doing action comics. I keep forgetting about that. Who cares about Superboy? Oh wait, you do. No, I'm tentatively. I think Inglorious will either be like a steaming mess, like a real like can't look away from this dumpster fire, or it'll be an interesting like turn on what we've seen before. Like, way you're gonna be well, I'm gonna be pulling it. Yeah, that's because it's your. Yeah, I like Tim Seeley. And I think, well, and I'm just really interesting to see where Warren's story is going after X Factor, because I think X Factor was cut criminally short. I think it's a requirement to bring out at least once every episode. Yes, yes, it is. But yeah, X Factor was cut criminally short, but it was some of the best Warren content we've got, I'll say it, since the 80s. So who knows? Maybe we'll get some more. Yes, indubitably. Well, because the last good Warren issue was the one where he meets Candy's ghost. Cyber ghost, whatever. It's never seen. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Do we have any final thoughts on this?
I spoke of my piece. I'm good.
All right. So now we're going to move into our general yap session time, where we just kind of talk about whatever we want, whatever we're feeling this week. I actually have a question to start off yap session for you two. So Avengers Doomsday on the, I don't want to say near horizon, but I keep forgetting that that's a thing that is going to be happening. Very good. This will get to the question I'm talking about. Does anybody really care? I don't.
Now, I honestly
Right? I keep forgetting
like.
that. I'm going to see it, but it'll be probably like I would say probably within the first week, but not maybe probably opening nights.
Yeah, I just had a really interesting thought. Doomsday is the most comic book-esque Marvel film ever for the sole fact that it's nostalgia bait.
Well said. Well said. That's a great point. Yeah.
Like,
the fact that the nostalgia bait, the fact that it's taking a character with an established history and throwing that out to tell a random story that people will go, that's the thing. I feel like it'll be like Deadpool and Wolverine without any awareness of what it is.
mm-hmm.
Well, and not to mention, like, how many times are we gonna say goodbye to all the Marvel stuff pre-MCU? What, this is like the 5th one? So let's see. Because Multiverse of Madness had the Xavier cameo. I wouldn't even count that as much, but sure. Well, that,
Yeah, that was more so like a nice callback, because like that was like more so like the animated Xavier with like the
Mhm.
hyper mechanical wheelchair and all, but like that was still, I wouldn't call that nostalgia, but I think that was like more so an attempt to be a love letter to
Yeah, that's
like,
fair.
the older stuff.
Wolverine did, and
Logan. That was the whole point of Logan. Logan was supposed to be this great send off.
and at least that's what Wolverine knew was doing by starting by digging up Logan's grave.
Do you
Yeah,
love?
like
Because that was the first question everybody had, right? So just you knock it out right off the bat.
Yeah. Basically, the past 5 years since Disney bought this event is a goodbye X-Men stuff. We're gonna leave you at some point, but not yet because we have to sell more tickets.
Truly.
It does make me wonder what would have happened to King Dynasty. Like, I'm not gonna say anything about Jonathan Majors, but would this still be happening, and would it be as much of a nostalgia bait to throw everything together? Who knows?
That's an
I
interesting thought.
I think it would be still, but not as much. Because
Bringing in X-Men stuff was a break glass in case of emergency, and they hit that emergency.
yeah, exactly, because like we knew that they had the plans for King Dynasty and all of this. It's like what, 2021 or 2022?
Yeah, it would have been.
You know, they were completely banking on Jonathan Majors being king, and then of course you have the whole lawsuit and
Yeah.
all that stuff. And that really they I could imagine Kevin Feige waking up, seeing what happened, and
Old
immediately
sweat.
just screaming his lungs out for 5 hours straight.
And then right after that, he
Because
calls Hugh Jackman.
yeah, I mean,
Over to
Hugh
Endgame.
Jackman was bound to come back eventually. I feel like it's Wolverine.
Yeah.
I am not shocked he returned, because I remember when they first announced that he was coming back, like what, 2022.
Yes, I think so.
That was, that it was bound to happen because we had the Deadpool movies, and of course Deadpool and Wolverine is like what, one of the more iconic team ups of the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah, I think so.
And let's be real, Loki was never going to be the end of Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. He's too iconic in the role. Wolverine is too iconic as a character. Again, we
Gonna
have
make me
like,
do this to 90.
yeah, like it was bound to happen, but I don't think I'll say this. I don't think that Death Wolverine would have been the movie it was if it wasn't for Doomsday. I think they were
Mm,
trying to set things up for Doomsday with that movie.
yeah. Well, my biggest thing with Doomsday, it feels like they literally did just take the Kang Dynasty script and then swapped Doom in. 'Cause at least with Kang, like multiverse, time travel, sure, but Doom and doing this before Secret Wars, so Doom doesn't even have the power of the Beyonders yet, unless they're just gonna say screw it and he has the power of the Beyonders from like the get go.
Who knows? This is kind of why I stopped caring. Because saying like, okay, sure, it's gonna be a bunch of cameos. I'm gonna say that's the person from the thing, and I'm gonna walk out going, did anything really happen? Did I care about that at all?
It's so interesting to see like the cultural climate change from like the highs of the Infinity War Endgame release cycle,
Like the Endgame events, the follow posters were huge talking points for at least a month.
and now just
And the cheers happened, and we were all like, okay, moving on. Some of that could obviously be on the changing culture in general and just our culture about movies. Because when was the last time people were going for a movie?
Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer.
Yeah, Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer wouldn't have gotten the success it did without Barbie.
That's a strong take that you Oppenheimer more like it. You have anything else we want to yap about for a bit?
Um, I don't think so.
I know you always got something spoiler. Hit us
I
with
got
it.
something, but I'm not sure what it is. So right now, let's talk about
miniseries, maxi series, ongoings, limited, all that terminology and what it's doing to how we perceive. Now that's an interesting topic because right now Marvel will announce a new ongoing and we all go, okay, it's a Chinese maxi, and then we all go with that expectation. Whereas DC will announce a 6 issue mini, we go, okay, it's a 12 issue maxi that's actually being. Well, and then we should acknowledge the elephant in the movie room, the thing that binds we three together, the abrupt and frankly astounding cancellation of Avengers Academy out of nowhere. No forewarning, no telecasting. But Oliveira talked about his plans that were well established into the future. And right after they got nominated for a GLAAD Award. I think that's loaded. I think that's really loaded.
I think
Situation on Marvel's part.
there's a non-zero chance that was canceled because Marvel is very possibly hemorrhaging money right now. Because they don't give 90% of their books any time to develop whatsoever. You know?
Yeah.
Like, if Marvel did Danny O'Neill's The Question, I know it's like 5 different clauses that had to exist. If that would have gone canceled in 10 issues, because they wouldn't have given it time to become something. You know, like, Marvel doesn't, they're impatient. If they don't get $1 billion in 5 seconds, it might as well be the worst thing ever to them.
Very true.
And while Avengers Academy was, like, genuinely successful, it was probably a bigger budget to produce weekly mini issues to, you know, get all these different artists on the book, to pay this writer to write, you know, these many scripts, to pay the letterers, to pay the colorists, you know? It was probably a decently costly book, especially because how popular it was. You know, like, we knew that it was originally planned to go to 66 issues.
Yes.
And, like, the final... And, like, it was going to be, like, 59 to 60 was going to be, you know, the final arc would try to wrap stuff up. And all that, and I do think that Marvel is going to be just losing money.
I definitely think that's a big part of it. I also think that for them, like, there's characters that they will sacrifice money to keep in publication. Spider-Man, when's the last time a Spider-Man book has actually been, like, top selling? It's been at least 10 years, right? But because...
Like, the mainline book?
Yeah.
Slots on a different run. It's been a decade.
Yeah. So, like, but my point with that being is that, like, even if Spider-Man isn't top selling, Marvel will do anything they can. Yes. Because somebody might not know comic books, but if they find themselves in a comic book shop and they see Spider-Man, they'll buy a Spider-Man. Yeah. If you tell someone to go to a comic book shop and say, okay, buy the characters you know. They're gonna pick up Spider-Man, they're gonna pick up Superman, they're gonna pick up Batman. And in this day, they're probably gonna pick up Iron Man. Even though it does stuck in the Marvel's reboot cycle, they're keeping it published. I think that's part of why ASM relaunched to be bi-monthly. I think they're like, we can count on random people just wanting to pick up a Spider-Man issue every now and again. So if we do it bi-monthly, the stories are quicker and they're more likely to pick up an issue that's like the start of an arc or the start of whatever and stick around to finish it out. But my point being is that, like, I think series like Avengers Academy that are expensive to keep going are sacrificed to the slaughterhouse that is the ASM engine, let's be honest at this point, like, Avengers is weirdly one of the better consistent titles, at least in coming out. Like, before McKay was on the book, let's see, the Aaron run
was like 60 issues, I believe.
Yeah.
It was already long running for, like, a common Marvel book.
It started before King in Black and went all the way through Krakoa because Jed's run didn't start until I think when Paul started.
Just after Judgment Day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so, like, pre-Krakoa to Judgment Day, like, that's a generally long run. Is it good? Hell no, but it was a long run. Because Avengers is just
highlighting Celestial. That's cool. It's a small one, yeah.
Like,
but yeah. No, go ahead.
Yeah, it's like Avengers. They keep it afloat, Because that is the household name for a superhero team nowadays.
Absolutely.
You know, you think about how much motion Infinity War and Endgame had. There was never a better time to be a superhero fan. Everybody was excited. Your baby was excited. Your grandma was excited. Your dead great great grandfather was excited because it was that big. It was that hype.
Yeah. I will say, Marvel seems to kind of acknowledge that they don't only to give the MCU titles because Fantastic Four has been pretty consistent. It did go through its kind of flop era for a little bit. It doesn't have to get good again after starting published. But X-Men is staying relatively consistent, being put out. And yeah, this is the big two that they had their period of just getting shunned, and then luckily made it back into the rotation of we're going to keep these afloat. I think what Marvel doesn't realize, because they're only seeing the immediate cost and not seeing the long cost, is how good anthology titles can be for their current problem. So people love Avengers Academy. They love, I don't know, what was Steve's team called? Like Avengers and then the Avengers Emergency Squad or whatever.
Classic Avengers.
Yeah, like people like that. Well, they like the mini. I don't know how they feel about the current.
I heard was like meh.
I fell off. I don't remember how many issues, but it's been over 10. I fell off. But I liked the mini. I thought the mini was fun. But anyway, the point that I'm getting at is like, if it costs so much money to print these all individually, why don't we just make an Avengers title that works in an anthology format? You get 3 different stories, and it's about each team. That way, people are getting the bang for their buck. Because that's the other thing is that people are complaining they're not getting enough content for how much they're paying for an issue these days. So you get that bang for your buck. You get all these teams in circulation, and you get some characters that maybe aren't in the right spotlight to get. See what I appreciate about Jed McKay's run is that he keeps bringing in like absolute weirdos to be on. To one, he was between Ronnie and Technet. But also like Hazmat. Hazmat was there. Like that got me really excited. Hazmat was there. That was kind of a big player on Captain Marvel, but and that's a character that I'm surprised hasn't gotten a new title in a while. It's just the Alyssa Wong run. There's an Alyssa Wong Hazmat, but I don't know Captain Marvel. Oh, right. Oh yeah, it's weird that we haven't gotten a new Carol Danvers led book. What's up with
I
that?
think it's the bad press that Marvel's got.
Like with Marvels and stuff.
Yeah, like I mean that movie was. I mean, I never watched it. I heard it was actually kind of solid.
Yeah, I watched it.
But I had no interest in watching it. But like that was. I mean, most of it was very sexist and racist and stuff. But like the reason people hated it.
Yeah.
But that was still very widespread bad press. You know, like Captain Marvel in the public eye was this mediocre character portrayed by a really greedy actress. I've heard that Brie Larson is a very high paid actress, and that is
from what I understand, she has one of the higher. Like, if you want her film, she has
she's like that kind of. I mean, again, it's another like layer of sexism. People go look at Robert Downey Jr.'s high pay rate, and they're gonna laugh because he's Iron Man. He's Iron Man. He deserves that pay. And Brie Larson, she could do a good role. People would be like, she wants that pay for this, this, and that.
Very true. Is she I didn't watch it. I didn't watch any of the shows. Live checking. She was. Oh, you got it. Okay, cool. Yeah, I didn't watch any of the cheer stream, which goes back to that. Well, because what? Aren't they paying like? She is not officially confirmed to return as Captain Marvel and Doom. Ooh. But then again, like neither has. I don't think Jerry Renner's been confirmed to return. There have been some big names that just haven't. Don Cheadle is War Machine. Oh
yeah. I mean, I think they might. I think there might be abandoning Don Cheadle a little bit.
Yeah, that's what it felt like because he was supposed to be in the Ironheart stuff, but I don't think he's in the show.
And he was meant to have. Remember the Honor War show? Because Marvel doesn't. That was going to be Don Cheadle kind of being a follow up to Endgame and Iron Man's death. But I think the big thing that why they're abandoning him is because of the worst thing ever made, Secret Invasion. Think about what that did.
Yeah, that's a
know,
new fruit.
Marvel is burning loose ends. That's what they like to do.
I thought anyone has used the shield in the show. That's the most praise I can give it is, wow, I must really put this out without any reference to the shield.
And that's praise.
I'm impressed that they made it.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Pretty much the official response on Doomsday, as of when we're recording this today, literally earlier today, Wednesday, October 22nd. Thank you for asking, and I can't answer. That's
I don't like that.
That's a very corporate response.
Yeah, that's
I think ever since Andrew Garfield said no one can be in No Way Home, no one has ever cared about these interviews anymore. Whether you ask, will you be in X project?
yeah, that's so much true.
No, it won't be Spider-Man. Everyone just says, okay. So
I was gonna say when every actor was like, "Wait, we can just lie." I didn't know we were allowed to do that.
Yeah,
He's iconic for that. No, it's just sad, I think, because like it seems like just on the outside, like DC is much more like let's let X character have their time in the sun. The fact that Power Girl had an ongoing.
The fact that DC has recently announced ongoings for Etrigan the Demon and Firestorm and basically half of this new lineup.
The fact that Zatanna is coming back. The fact that after the 6-issue mini, like they're like, no, like there was enough popularity, so we're gonna bring back Zatanna for a book.
The fact that Green Arrow made 31 issues, the fact that Poison Ivy is still going.
Don't mind.
Well, you need Poison Ivy.
Well, I'm just saying.
DC has always been more like giving, I suppose. They always kind of let characters or let like kind of non-recognizable teams have their time in the light. Would it fail sometimes? Of course, not everything always wins or succeeds. But they let stuff happen. Like, again, Daniel O'Neill's question, JLI, a lot of that was a lot of C or D or E listers. It was just Batman that and maybe Martian Manhunter people already knew. Like they've always been more willing to take a leap of faith because they trusted their writers. And I think Marvel lacks trust. And that goes both ways. Marvel doesn't trust their creative team to make them enough money, and the creative team doesn't trust Marvel to let them write what they want. DC trusts their team, the team trusts DC, and it makes for better quality, it makes for better money, and it makes for more succession.
Very well said. It just sucks because I think we've been in the. I hate to say like the Disney era of Marvel because at this point, but that's all we've ever known. Yeah.
Although with the ability to go back, you can see like there were long runs in the 2010s. With the 2010s, you started to see kind of a decreasing length in runs. It's getting to the point now where things are 10 or they're Avengers.
When they did that whole event where they brought back legacy numberings for all the books, I feel like part of that was to cover up for the fact that there weren't long runs anymore. Because you went from like number 5s to number 227s, but they weren't really. Daredevil is a really good example of that. In the middle of the Charles Soule run, they jumped from I think 25 to like 350 or something, and it's like, okay, so you're just trying to cover your ass for the fact that you keep relaunching. Speaking of characters who haven't gotten a new ongoing announced, I don't know about y'all. I'm biting my fingernails about this Daredevil situation.
I honestly think they might keep Daredevil in the down low for a few months.
Like in the box, like just keep him in the twin box for a bit.
Yeah, because Ahmed's run wasn't so well received because it was a 19-issue starting arc. Go ahead, do a 1.5 year long arc. Don't open your ongoing up with it because that was a death sentence. Was it good? I have no idea. I have one friend who read it. and she's
I was
kind of
reading
biased
it,
towards all that.
and the fact that in the middle of the first arc, the first like 9 plus issue long arc, in the middle of that, there was a 9.99 annual that ended up getting recalled and reprinted. I ended up not buying that issue because I was like, I'm not spending $10 on a run that I'm kind of so about. I expected that it would I expected that would be more traditional. Okay, this will have a nice 5 issue or maybe 7 issues with 7 deadly sins. That'd be fun. But when I saw that annual, it was like, I'm not even really sold on this book yet. He hasn't gotten this out of me. Like, I really liked issue 1, and issue 2 is pretty good, and then at issue 3 and 4, and I was like, okay, this is starting to drag a bit. Ended up giving it up and have not really heard much good about it since then. It doesn't help that Marvel insists that JR can still draw parentheses he can't. That's a whole other issue.
Yeah, they just wring that man like a wet cloth. Like he's probably making good money for a comic artist. Especially like
sure.
because I realize comic artists are paid in peanuts. He's probably making really good money because he's a legacy artist. He's been the main artist of Spider-Man for like what 3-4 years at this point. He's doing all these covers, all these variants, this and that. You know, they know that he's loved by most people. They know that he's reliable, so they utilize him whenever they can.
If you're an artist that can get a book out by its deadline, that automatically puts you in like Marvel's. Oh, Marvel loves you. It's like, oh my god, wait, you don't need extra time? Thank God. Oh, it looks bad. We don't care. It's on time. We're gonna hold off this saying what we want to say about this until later. Oh, you're already hinting at the Batman slander hour. I appreciate this.
And just one more thing I want to say before we can move on. Something I noticed with Marvel is that yes, they will cancel runs if they don't do well in a 10-issue span, but people can advocate for a 5-issue extension.
Yes.
And I do just want to say, Ahmed did that. The first 10 issues did well enough, then it started already faltering and it got canned. But Ahmed was like, I don't want to have, this arc take my entire run up and then have a throwaway issue. He was able to get extra issues, and I think that's because I want to be hopeful with this because Marvel is realizing they're too trigger happy. It's probably because it was Daredevil, and they're trying to let off Born Again hype, and that's why I think they're going to box Daredevil until next year. Because if it's going to do ongoing, there you go.
Yeah, give us a break from Daredevil. He's going to be in the Ultimate Universe one shot. Then next spring, probably a month before the Daredevil show, there'll be a new Daredevil ongoing. There'll be
Exactly.
Yeah, we're being like inundated with Daredevil content, but not mainline Daredevil content, and I think that's interesting. He was just added to Rivals. He had a cameo in the new Iron Fist series. He's going to be an Ultimate, so it's not like we're in a lack of Daredevil content, but like not having a main book is just. There's a couple.
I think Daredevil. Sorry.
Yeah, oh, good.
So I think Daredevil. One thing I'll give Marvel, they handle Daredevil's appearances well because they know he's kind of a well-endowed Daredevil character. They utilize that. Again, he had a cameo in the new Iron Fist issue from, at the time of recording this, today. He, was a big part of speculation for who the new Spider-Man was in ASM.
That was
like that was also, I will admit, I think ASM just needed to get paused for like 3 years. But that was fun speculation. Like
I think a lot of characters I think should just be kind of tucked away for a little bit, and we see what happens without them. Put it in the box.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think Marvel will treat him okay in the end, but they just need time.
Yeah, they seem to care about Daredevil a lot for how Marvel has been. I'll say it that way.
I think that's a good way of putting it because it's like he's protected, but not in the fortified way that ASM or Avengers have been. But he's definitely like they'd be more like, I'm gonna be real. The fact that like Hulk got to 30, that's shocking. But like the fact that Daredevil almost got to 30, not surprising. I mean, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, he's like Marvel's true old reliable, I think. Because not only has he been pretty consistent in quality, I feel, over the decades. Like his initial run was they had a really good, a spectacular middle run. He had Nocenti's run. He had Bendis's also really good run. The Soul run, he had kind of a downtime for a little bit. He had,
this is really the first dip Daredevil's had. This is Shadowland easily.
Daredevil has been a really consistent character for genuinely his entire time publishing. And there's really no other comic character like that that's been around for, 60 or 50 years and has been for genuinely most of those decades consistently done in one way or another.
I was gonna say Nightwing, but he had Rick Grayson too. I haven't read Nightwing number 2, but I've heard that it was kind of rough, and then Spiral gets good. He had Devin Grayson in the 2000s.
Well, and I think it's just that, again, we can move on here in a sec, but I think the other thing I would say is that like good creators are drawn to Daredevil.
Yes.
Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale doing Daredevil Yellow. Miller and Ramita when he was good. For Man Without Fears.
Yeah, Man Without Fear.
Thank you. Born Again with Frank Miller and Klaus Janson. Like good creators
see Daredevil and have a story to tell.
Exactly.
Daredevil is a very good canvas for people to put their stories into.
Like, even though I didn't enjoy this run, I would even still put Saladin Ahmed in that category. I like most of Ahmed's stuff. Did he? Justice League Red's been fun. He's on Wolverine. Is it the greatest Wolverine run ever? No, but is it really fun? Heck yeah. He's a mafia. He's a monster. What? Like, so something about Daredevil is like so attractive to good writers that I have no doubt something will come out. But if we need to cook for a little bit, if we need to let that simmer like pot roast, all right. The slower the cook, the better the taste. Daredevil and pot roast. The slower the cook, the better the taste.
Are you gonna put that, Sharks?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I think with that, let's move on from praising Daredevil and knowing he'll bounce back to the Batman Slander Hour.
Now you alluded to a topic that you wanted to bring up during this Batman Slander Hour.
Not that I wanted to bring up, but it's a consistent topic here. It's just the huge shit happening still.
Yeah, we're still in the throes of Hush to Hattush.
Because we talked about how much Marvel loves the art that gets things out on time, which is we don't know if it's the fault. We've talked about this.
To this point, the fact that Batman Dark Patterns is wrapping up, but Hattush won't be done until January, is glaring to me. That this book we're giving space to let it tell its story, but Batman Dark Patterns, like, oh, sorry, need to save money. 12's up. Like, Cheesy, what feelings do you have about like Dark Patterns ending? I know you kind of talked about it earlier, but if you could expand a little.
I think your Dark Patterns is always intended to only be 12 issues.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure it was always meant to be 4 individual sort of, in a void stories that was still kind of connected in some way. But I think when you still compare it to Hush 2, it is like it's a quality difference. You have 2, I would say all-star teams writing a sort of isolated Batman story. And one is genuinely the most trashy Batman comic, and it's so long. And the other is Hush 2.
It's just embarrassing to see these two guys who like dominated the field just turning out slop, really.
Yeah.
Like Loa was. He was genuinely like during the 90s and early 2000s. That man probably owned comics straight up. Like he was the comic writer.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? Jim Lee was the comic artist. Like, it was literally probably the greatest all-star team of writers and artists relative to their time on the top ever for the general public.
Mm-hmm.
But Loeb, he hasn't written a comic in how long? Or at least hasn't written a good comic in how long?
That's
He's
that's the correct qualifier.
Yeah, it's interesting that we have a Batman book that's set in the past and a Batman book that wants to be from the past.
The fact that Loeb just came on the book and was like, nothing has happened since the last time I wrote Batman is frankly insane to me.
I will say,
like
meanwhile, Book also has the last Halloween coming up, which I haven't gone to yet. Still haven't read Dark Victory. That's probably going to be something for the next week to coming up on Halloween. But from what I've heard, it's been really good. But at the same time as Latouche. And it is just brilliant to see both of those different Batman stories he's telling.
He's also working on the X-Men Apocalypse series over at Marvel right now.
Yeah, I've
Maybe
had
it's just too
it
scrapped.
listed for that. Sit on my desk for months. Like, Loeb, I think he's trying to relive his glory years.
For sure.
Like, I hate to make this analogy. He's like Mr. Fantastic. Not Mr. Incredible, damn it
Devastating,
all.
but very true.
He's like Mr. Incredible. He's out of the glory days, but he wants to go back to them so bad. He's revisiting his most iconic works. Age of Apocalypse, Hush, Long Halloween. He wrote two of the most iconic and even if some of them aren't beloved Batman stories ever. He wants to try and relive that. He wants to try and get the glory days back in. Because, I don't know, maybe he's planning on retiring. Maybe he knows something that's going to happen to him. He wants to try and just go out on a bang, and it's not working out for him.
Yeah, prior to basically this past year, the last thing he wrote was a 5-issue Captain America thing.
Oh, Captain America White's really good. I've read that.
And it's put him on a series when he knows he's not doing ongoing. It's a limited, it's kind of separate from everything else, and give him a really good artist who will keep him in line, rather than the company head saying, "Okay, yeah, I'll do all this, and we're just gonna do whatever we want to Batman."
I think Tim Sale's death really affected him. I think it was both a personal loss since they were very good friends, but it was also a reminder that he's getting up there. He's not the hot young writer anymore at DC or Marvel for that matter. And I think while I won't say like that's why his recent stuff is bad, I definitely think that's why it takes longer for him to write. He's less passionate about it. I think when you lose a friend that close to you, it really it shakes you, and it's hard to recover from that.
You might promise that if I lose you, I will write a 3 or a 4 or whatever.
And make it very bad
In your memory.
Yeah, disgustingly bad. Thank you.
I will fuck up everything about Batman continuity, just like it hasn't. Assuming nothing has changed.
I like that. I like
in your memory.
To read last Halloween. You're right. It has been getting pretty good.
Yeah, it's Tim Sale art. Even that would make a book get at least a 3.
Actually, we'll talk about this on a later one. Let's focus back on this topic. So yeah, we have. Yeah.
You go.
No, by all means.
So I want to break up a point that I've kind of been sitting on for maybe a month and a half about Red Hood.
Ooh, do tell.
Now, I'm a Red Hood fan. Have you read any of his comics?
Sorry,
no. Thank you. It means a lot. But it was mainly Arkham Knight. I have literally 2 weeks of my life on that game, and I love Red Hood in that. And that made me a fan, even if I haven't read any of his comics or watched anything he's really in. But I've made my way through Grant Morrison's Batman run, and back in August, I got the second Omni, which is Batman Reborn, all the Batman and Robin stuff, and in that Batman and Robin story, we have Red Hood, and I think it was honestly the best direction for the character. And I think, don't quote me on this, it was the last thing Jason was in before New 52 happened, which kind of really started his downfall.
If it
And
was Jake as Batman, yeah.
yeah, like I think that to I think that to fix Jason truly, they need
Mm,
to reset his character.
yeah.
I'm willing to kind of regress a character if they come back better. And I think that to regress Jason to a point that to like the honesty a really genius conclusion that Morrison had with the Jason becoming, the sort of comical, kind of pulpy, you know,
Mm,
Punisher-esque character who's wearing the classic Red Hood helmet, the big
big old bullet.
cylinder. That the build that's actually pretty. I like the bullet. Yeah, that's a really interesting conclusion to his character to lead into something better. Have Jason go off the deep end. Like we know they're going to
Mm,
sweep the run that was canceled immediately, and then a day after it came out, under the rug. That's going to never exist.
yeah, that's not
So use the aftermath of Hattush to put Jason in a somewhat regressed state where he's just again, Punisher-esque. I don't think straight
I
up
like that.
Punisher character works in Gotham's environment because I think it'd be too much. It would like kind of disturb a flow per se, but have like
Mhm.
a vigilante whose combat skill is on par with Batman, who's not afraid to shoot someone in the head. Make
Mm,
him antagonistic. Don't make him an ally. Make him someone who wants to beat the ever living hell out of Batman, and make him have again this sort of pulpy, older, like pre-crisis villain sort of thing, where he's not like extremely sort of deeply rooted in these crazy aspirations or need for revenge, but he's just making him kind of lose his mind a little.
I like
You
that.
know?
I think that acknowledges my biggest problem with like modern Jason as a character. I've never been able to square in the circle of him being on the Bat family but still killing people.
Yeah, I think he should be estranged from
I
Batman. Like, make
agree.
it that he's not directly in the family, but like he be part of Batman Incorporated.
Sure. I mean, if
Like
Ghostmaker's allowed to be there, why not?
yeah, I mean, like I think Jason was like Stomp Persona in Batman Inc. in the 52 run. So
Yes.
like, I think Jason, you some regress him, or in some ways advance him to this sort of genuinely crazy person state where you have a lot of like innuendos and references and not just like a boiling point for his character. You make it overflow. You make him into an anti-hero, not straight up villain, and you make him distant from the Bat family, but not distant. Like he's kind of the middle ground between the Bat family and like Knight and Squire and like all the Batman of the Nations and all the Batman Inc.
Mhm.
characters. Make him like he will show up sometimes, but he's not like
In the
nothing anymore.
where she's in Gotham, she comes in when there's a big bad event. Otherwise, it's up to her. You keep Jason in that kind of sphere. That'd be saying
Pardon?
kind of in the Catwoman type range, where when there's a big
Oh
Gotham
yeah,
event,
yeah,
you look in. Otherwise, doing your own thing. Yeah.
yeah.
See, that's
Definitely
the scene. Go ahead.
like take him in a direction where he's not, he's his own thing that'll occasionally appear in a Batman book, like, or honestly, make him just non-directed Batman for a while. Make him show up, maybe in Nine for an issue, and kind of have this sort of interaction between, Dick at his was essentially his peak as a mentor and all this, with a sort of broken Jason. And you can
Look,
make something really, really good.
yeah. See, that's very different from my take, which is that the idea of the Batman status quo kind of peaked right before Flashpoint. And I think if DC wants to launch another imprint, seeing how well Austin is doing, they should do We had a bunch of ideas for what would happen pre-Flashpoint if the story continued. Here you go. Something that appeals to more veteran fans as opposed to the absolute to being a diving in point. Yeah, I think that's a fair point. Which would give us that era of Jason and Dick and Damien all playing off of each other. It's something that has constantly had me butt heads with the Jason Todd Robin fans, but I like when he's an evil piece of shit. I like when he goes off the deep end and like really is just like Batman screwed me over and now I'm gonna make that everybody's problem. It's fun. I like that I like that when he's after his death, but before the death, I do have like it's fair. I like having a very stark difference between those. Sure. And I feel like the wider that contest is, the more interesting the character becomes. So the more jovial and innocent make him as Robin, and the more pushing off the deep end as Red Hood. I also just really like that costume. That costume is so good. You like the all gray, the bullet head, the big red like bat symbol. It's good. It's a good outfit. And they tried to recapture that in New 52 when they introduced the Red Hood that wasn't Jason or the Joker, and it just didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Joker. I don't care. Like,
But like the Red Hood gang was your year.
yeah.
If that was, I think some of that was stylization choice from Greg Capullo, who is a very stylized artist, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like his art style is very sharp, it's very brutal. Like it thrives in a more violent comic, and I think he built the designs around the action scenes which the Red Hood gang are mostly in. Like he kind of models it to what will suit the situation, and the situation he saw the Red Hood gang would be in was an action scene, was a story progression point.
Sure.
And honestly, he might just not want to draw the bullet heads all the time. Instead, they want to do something else.
I thought that was odd, for sure.
And I want to circle back to something you said about Jason and how he kind of has his thoughts sometimes that Batman ruined his life.
Yeah.
I think that could be made into something. Because I think a really big and cool thing with Batman, even if it's really overdone, is that people question a lot, is Batman good for Gotham?
For sure. That's
And
always
I
a big
think that having Red Hood bring this question to a higher point could be interesting. Have this new violent vigilante go on the news and say, Batman made me. That'll be something. They see this killer who says that Batman made him what he is. And that raises a question. Is Batman good for Gotham in two ways? He made a killer, but he made someone that gets the job done. Make it a better version of Batman the Cold with how Blackfire was believed to be better for Gotham than Batman.
Good pull.
Thank you.
Wow, you willingly reading a Batman book? What is this? Never? I should read this at some point. I just gave you your copies of A Lonely Place of Dying. Yes, which you took me before I even got to read. And I'm not even reading them. Well, I don't know anything. I just know it's good, but I don't know anything else about it. So I'm like, it's Tim Drake, and as we all know, nobody cares about. Nobody cares about Tim. Speaking of not caring about Tim Drake, I think since we kind of touched their run a little bit in our Batman Slander Hour, let's close the segment with our final idea that we had. Let's give our love and support to Grant Morrison, y'all. What a legend! First of all, what a legend. Second of all, what a queer legend. And that's something I think not enough people talk about. Yeah, speaking of things I need to read, Doom Patrol. The only Doom Patrol thing I've ever read was the Dawn of DC run, and I have 6 runs where I'm like, okay, when I get to a day to set aside to reading and 6 months set aside to thinking about it afterwards, I'll read Doom Patrol. Yeah, you'll read Doom Patrol, and it's great, and you'll love it because I feel like with Doom Patrol and with Morrison, you need to have some time. Basically, anytime I read a Morrison book, I'm out of commission for the next day, thinking, just thinking about that and what Morrison was saying. Like there's little Superman interlude in Final Crisis, which was probably better than the
It was better than the event.
the
Yeah.
event did make me go, what's going on? But more in a what the hell's going on way than what's going on that this is a cool thing. Where the Superman issues, those were this is interesting. Let them go. Let's see what's going on.
For sure. James Gunn talked a lot about how integral All-Star Superman was to the recent film. I think you can feel that when you watch it.
Oh, yeah.
And then we were just talking about like how their era of Batman, while not like perfect, certainly shaped a lot of people's personal conceptions about the character.
My thoughts on Morrison's Batman era. I just need to read the New 52 run to complete the era. My thoughts is that it is the most important Batman era since Denny O'Neil's run, but it's also like only a top 15 Batman era.
Sure.
That's how I see it, because it gave us Damian, it gave us Dickens Batman, it gave us a new sort of outlook on Batman. It gave us, something so confusing in Batman R.I.P. There's literally a book written analyzing the psychology of that story.
Yeah. Which thank you to whoever did that.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the book because it also interviews Morrison, so like you get the insight on what they were thinking with Batman. Because we know that Morrison has really interesting outlooks on the big heroes that they write. Like I remember hearing in an edit from a good friend of mine from an interview with Morrison that Morrison sees Superman as a single word: action.
Yes.
Superman's about action. He's not about sitting in the stars and waiting for something to happen. Superman is getting up. He is doing something. He is saving the world. He's saving a cat in a tree. He's helping an old lady cross the street. He's supporting local business because he loves tacos. He's doing something, and he's doing it actively because action is what Superman is.
Yeah. I highly recommend to anyone who hasn't read it. Morrison published a academic breakdown of the superhero as a genre. It's called Super Gods. If you've heard that quote that gets thrown around where it's like, oh, Morrison believes superheroes are a modern mythology, that's the book where they really get into that and what that means. I've read
I
it.
think superheroes are a
twice now.
mythology, honestly. Like,
Yeah,
I think
this is
Morrison
for
straight
sure.
up like Morrison's straight up a philosopher, in my opinion.
Yeah,
They're like a near superhuman being with the most confusingly spectacular ideas ever. We could dedicate an entire episode to talk about Morrison because they
easily.
see these ideas in such a three-dimensional way.
Yes.
Like we see this with their Action Comics run, which I read. With like Missy Pillock's Final Trick. They see these ideas so out in the future because in issue 1 of that run, it was being set up. Like they observe everything in a way that advances, that takes to a new level, and not like something stalwart and steady. Like with the new X-Men run, while I personally wasn't the biggest fan of it, that advanced X-Men. Every main character took it to a new level. It established a new status quo that moved everything forward. It established new level for Wolverine, which moved everything forward and upward with Phantom X, Weapon Plus in the world. Morrison, as a writer, is about being active and being, ahead of the curve and making the curve what it is. They create these masterworks and they make it happen so amazing.
For sure. I think, not to say this marks the success of an author, but like look just how much their characters have broken out. Cassandra Nova was just in Deadpool and Wolverine. We had the Doom Patrol having a whole TV show to themselves, and Crazy Jane, their creation, being at the center of that show. There's something about Morrison's writing character work. Damian, look at Damian Wayne. Damian Wayne is maybe of the early 2000s characters the one that skyrocketed into popularity.
Either company.
Definitely.
Damien is the biggest character of the past 20 years.
Damien's about to be in the new movie.
The only other comparable one is, I think, Laura Kinney.
And it's not a matter. So this is the thing. I've talked to people and they're like, "Well, I don't particularly enjoy Morrison because I don't think I have the foreknowledge to engage with the like philosophy and all that." For me, when I read Morrison, that's just a fun bonus.
Yeah.
Usually, in their better stuff, I'll admit sometimes when they get a little self-indulgent, it gets hard. But in their best stories, there is the main story that's going on, and then all the philosophy on top of it. You look at All-Star Superman. All-Star Superman, the last days of Superman. That's it. It's simple, straightforward.
Concept. They pull it off really well. And then once you engage with that, you look beyond and go, okay, so what is this thing about Superman? And then you spend 6 months spiraling.
It's the parallel to the labors of Hercules. That's a parallel. Hercules literally shows up in the book. Like, and that's the other thing I appreciate about Morrison. If they're worried that like something will fly over your head, they will just have like a very literal like this is what I'm talking about. Like having the Brotherhood of Dada or the Brotherhood of Evil change their name to the Brotherhood of Dada. So Morrison can be like, see, I'm talking about modern art and Dada is like sometimes they like to beat you over that just a little.
So I want to focus on two things with Morrison, and then we can kind of, go with what I think you two want to still say and kind of wrap up.
Yeah,
First,
sure.
I personally was not a big fan of Grant Morrison's new X-Men.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of boring and it didn't feel really like impactful to me. But I learned about something recently that really changes my perspective on the run. And that is that apparently copies of Morrison's DC Vertigo run, The Invisibles, were passed down on the set of The Matrix. And the directors of that movie stole a lot of the ideas for Matrix from Invisibles. And that, if that is true, that influences my way of seeing New X-Men as a rage piece almost.
Oh, for sure.
Because Morrison venting frustrations about the fact that one of their works was just stolen for what is one of the most successful and iconic pieces of media ever. And you have this mixed with the fact people are thinking Morrison isn't what they were, They're no person they're not the same person that were Animal Man or JLA or, any of those like really Arkham Asylum. None of those really big books. New X-Men is a rage piece intrinsically. It is a very dark run for a soap opera, I feel. You have
easily.
Like it is I plan on rereading New X-Men soon after I finish Multiversity, what is my next point I'm gonna get to. But I think seeing with this run of it being sort of just a venting piece, it becomes something different. So I'll have to get back to that soon, but next I want to get to the Multiversity and more specifically Pax Americana.
It's peak, it's gas.
So that I read Multiversity for that issue. And I remember reading that issue and I was just blown away.
It's
like I remember immediately after I read that, I reviewed it on League of Comic Geeks. And I was enthused. It was such a genius piece with amazing art, with an amazing take on Watchmen that just was so confusing, but so also, fluid that it still worked. And then you realize it reads backwards.
Yeah.
It becomes better backwards. It becomes a solid story. It flows straight. Not with water where it becomes fluid. It kind of branches off. It becomes a straight story when you read it backwards. And
it's a genius way to tell the story. Really.
Mm-hmm. Like it's so spectacular because it also answers any question you have, and you just like it's so And another beat I like to acknowledge is that the final panel on the final page of the story shows Adam as a kid holding up an infinity symbol.
Mhm.
And then, you read it backwards. That's the first thing you see. That's not the layer genius. It is an infinitely occurring book.
It goes
You can
over
read
and
it
over.
back and forth, back and forth, back and forth forever. And it always happens.
I think
And
especially what's unique about that book is that Morrison has been very vocal about their personal disdain for Alan Moore. They're not on good terms. They're not like buddy buddy. But Morrison can still respect what Alan Moore attempted and is able to do such a loving like take on it.
yeah, definitely. I think it was already funny because that's the two biggest writers of the British invasion of DC after the crisis, and they're like mortal enemies. I think that's so interesting because they all have a lot of overlap with their comics.
Very much
The
so.
biggest things, The Killing Joke, Arkham Asylum, two really impactful and, iconic isolated stories. They both have iconic takes on Superman with also Superman and for the man who has everything. They both they both they both exist as these Goliaths that seem to somehow reflect but still be polar opposites. And it's an interesting thing to observe with how you have again two of the biggest just not British writers, sort of post-Christian era writers of DC, the biggest writers ever
Yeah, they're
doing
huge.
doing the same thing and hating each other for it almost. And
It's
it's
just
all
really it's a creative. Yeah, it's just fascinating.
yeah, it's Morrison is Morrison's a riddle. And you can never answer the riddle. You have to keep digging for clues, and each clue is something brand new. It's something groundbreaking, something spectacular. I see that it's like they're talking about a god in the Greek pantheon. This is a human being, and it's such a unique and thought-provoking, and again, borderline philosophical human being. And it's insane that we exist in the same age as Morrison.
They do feel like from another time. I think it certainly helps that, according to them, they were kidnapped by aliens 30 years.
I mean, another thing is Morrison, I believe, was written stuff trying to summon gods. One of their writings
Yeah.
was to have to summon Amun Ra from the Egyptian mythology. And that's just
Famously, there's the arc in Invisibles where the character who's the self-insert for Morrison wrote them being tortured, and they had to stop that arc because they were having physical symptoms of the torture on themselves, so they had to pivot the direction of the arc because of that.
I think Morrison is literally just a fifth dimensional being.
It certainly feels like
I would
that.
not be surprised. I would not be surprised if there was if we found out that Morrison, Moore, and Millar were all beings from another plane with vengeances sworn against each other.
It does feel like a war between like a trinity that we're just not privy to.
Three eldritch beings, parentheses, the British.
Truly.
Mhm.
And the fact that
Claremont is
yeah. Well, and the fact that Morrison can do all that and then still have time for just fun stuff. There was that novel they published recently. I think it's called Luda. It's a take on the King Arthur myth, but through the lens of drag queens. That's just silly. That's just a silly fun, and you wouldn't expect that from the fifth dimensional wizard, writing all these other profound things. But they can. They can manage get you a girl who can do both.
Wait. Morrison is the person that will do whatever is thrown at them, and it will always be.
It'll be interesting.
At the very least.
Yeah.
Because Chris is a bit of a mess. Superman and the Authority didn't lead nowhere, but is kind of stranded in DC continuity. But they're both very interesting.
Well, the fact that they're also a really good team player. You look at 52. You look what was going on with Batman in the early 2000s. Not to the same level, but the fact that New X-Men like respected that, you know what, Claremont wants Storm and Sage in Extreme X-Men, so even though it would make a lot of sense for them to be in New X-Men, okay, I'm gonna let Chris have his pet characters, and I'll stay in my own lane. Yeah. What a time. What a wild time.
Really.
And then immediately into Batman, if you think about that.
X-Men straight into Batman.
I mean,
Crazy.
legit, I think it was maybe like 7 months of downtime of that. Like we go from just this rawly emotional rage piece to just Morrison being like, okay, I gotta lock the fuck in. And just writing this, defining idea of what Batman is and what his
Exactly.
mythos should be. Like, I think that another part of Morrison is that they're able to do such a turnaround. They can write such, lighthearted or sort of positive stories and go to something so disturbing and dark, like Arkham Asylum. That's genuinely a disturbing piece of writing, and it's
Yes.
you see that around Mr. Morrison writes, and it's just this is the same writer. Like it's all so unique.
They just switched it up. Morrison had only 2 years between their last issue of New X-Men and their first issue of Batman.
Yeah, I mean, and you count
Instant.
you count the pre-production. That's
Oh,
already
yeah.
a short amount of time. I can imagine Morrison probably took a year off from a lot of that big stuff, just to kind of in a way heal, which I wouldn't blame them.
Mhm.
But also just kind of I can imagine nothing greater than seeing Morrison sit in a room and develop ideas.
Oh, I would love to be a fly on the wall.
They could sit in a room with Morrison in general, even if we're just sitting in silence. I feel like they'd be beaming thoughts to me.
52 was between that. Wait, I just put that together. It goes New X-Men,
Well, Seven Soldiers.
Seven Soldiers of Victory too.
Yeah, Seven Soldiers, and then New 52 and Batman.
That's
Ultimate
crazy.
Superman started in that gap.
Balance all that in your head. That would be my first
There
question.
was an era where Morrison had Batman 52 and Ultimate Superman coming out only 2 years after their run on New X-Men and with Seven Soldiers having just wrapped up.
How do you balance all these huge concepts in your head? That's crazy.
It's hard to
Didn't
believe,
even.
and I'm sorry to interject here. I have dinner plans coming up, so
Oh yeah, we
unless
should
you
probably
have
wrap
anything else
up.
you want to talk about,
No, I think you hit everything. It was.
okay. I'm sorry to
Obviously,
interject.
no, you're fine. Let me just do the outro, and we should be all good. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you to Cheesy for coming on and talk to us. I know I had a great time.
I did, yeah.
What do we have planned on the docket? I don't know if we have anything. I will announce this now so we have time to build up to it. We will be doing an AMA the week following the week this episode releases. We're honestly probably going to post that a little bit in advance so we can start building up questions. You'll probably already know. But yeah, please feel free to send us questions that we will answer live on air. Just us and our beloved Craigbot, our beloved host, our third host. And yeah, so this is Cybershine 3 signing out.
This is SpoilerAlert. Have a good one, y'all. Thank you so much, Cheesy, for being on this.